Welcome to another interesting episode of that engineer who was doing quite well and suddenly decided to quit. Quit why? Because he had something going on in his mind. You in the corporate world would say he has hit that Alt F4 and then he made a complete new window for himself. Let us meet Nishant Didawat and let us hear his journey. Oh, why did he just leave such a wonderful job that he has built for himself and then start something new? Let us dive deep and understand. If someone wants to change, can we take some life lessons from him? Welcome, Nishant. Nishant,
Thank
first,
you.
first let us know in brief your life journey.
Well, I was born in Vardha, born to a doctor and a banker. Grew up uh, in Vardha, of course, till my schooling. Did my schooling from there, and of course, that's where we first met. And
Yes.
then after my initial studies, I moved to Nagpur to
Mhm.
prepare for these engineering entrance examinations. So I prepared for those exams, and then I found an opportunity with VNIT Nagpur, where I
Mhm.
studied civil engineering. I wasn't much into engineering, so I decided to find alternative careers for myself. I wanted to get into consulting because I was fascinated by the opportunity to solve problems, and
Mhm.
I found that problem solving could really bring my understanding of the world of work and different industries and sectors.
Mhm.
It would just give me those opportunities, so I decided to get into consulting. So I
Mhm.
moved to Pune, my first job, where I was working with a US company called ZS. This was into working with pharmaceutical companies of North America.
Mhm.
And while I only spent 2 years there, there was not much that I understood about consulting, but a lot about quality, hard work, communication, and the ability to look at data very closely, trying to make sense out of it. And that really helped me to build a strong foundation for the rest of my career. So I
Mhm.
think it was a very good starting point for me to work in a company which allows you to work with numbers, problem statements, quality, and all of those
Mhm.
things. And with those 2 years of experience in consulting, there was an opportunity for me to move into digital marketing, wherein they required somebody with quantitative analytics experience. And so I said, okay, why not work with an Indian company which has Indian clients so that I can
Mhm.
relate to them not only as a professional but also as a consumer, which
Mhm.
is why I moved to a digital marketing agency called Sokrati. This was also based in Pune. So I was in Sokrati for the next couple of years. And then I liked digital marketing so much that I decided to stay in that. And then for the
Mhm.
next 6 years, I was actively into digital marketing across various agencies and product companies. So I
Mhm.
built a career out of that, largely in performance marketing, which is brands trying to sell their products online and trying to
Mhm.
make profit out of that. So I was the one who was very actively involved. I worked with e-commerce brands, real estate brands,
Mhm.
fashion, food, mobility, gaming, travel, you name it, and I got a very good wide exposure to things. Then in 2020, I decided to build my first startup. This was in real world meetup, actually 2019, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And the idea was that when people start working, they lose touch with their interests and hobbies. And we should
Mhm.
build a platform that allows people to not only kind of reconnect with those hobbies of the real world, but also socialize and build those connections when you're actively moving out of your hometowns and you're staying in cities, etc. So that's
Mhm.
something that we tried to do with my first startup. As we launched, we started getting very good traction in the first 6 months, and then COVID hit. So the first thing that took a very big hit was anything real world and anything
Mhm.
socializing.
Mhm.
So we tried to find ways to survive for the next 6 months, but eventually we could not. So we pivoted it into something which could actually help with convalescent plasma. So
Mhm.
we had built a platform that connected two people over activities. We
Mhm.
changed it to a platform that would connect two people over convalescent plasma and blood.
Mhm.
So we started, kind of making the best use of our technology to help help people. And we did that for the next 4 months until the second wave of COVID subsided. And
Hmm.
then we decided to shut it down. Then I moved to Singapore to work again in the field of marketing. But here I wanted to, develop additional skills, especially related to sales. So I said,
Hmm.
okay, let me move from a solutions specialist role to a sales specialist role. So I took that plunge. I moved from India to Southeast Asia. I moved from digital marketing consulting to sales.
Hmm.
And that was a very big jump because it was a new geography, new skill set,
Hmm.
new set of clients, new opportunities, new cultures as well. Because
Hmm.
here I was working with Indians largely, and there it was all Southeast Asian folks.
Hmm.
So it was a very wide jump. I worked there for the next 3 years, and it came with a lot of learning, a lot of experiences, a lot of rewards as well.
Hmm.
So I did that for the next 3 years, and then more recently, I decided to come back to India to build something that I strongly believed in, which is
Hmm.
career guidance. So that's what I've been doing for the last 6 months now.
Okay. So tell me now, during COVID, you had your first startup. It
Yes.
had to shut down.
Yes.
Now you had a stable job. And
Yes.
then you decided to leave. What was the scariest part of it?
So, when you've built a startup for the first time already in the past and you're thinking of taking the plunge again, there are a lot of those circumstances and situations which you have seen in the past. So you kind
Hmm.
of have to consider those again and then decide if you want to take the plunge or not. So in my
Hmm.
case, the scariest part, like it would be for most people who want to start up, is you would kind of let go of a consistent amount of stable income and a certain
Yes.
amount of lifestyle that comes along with it. So those
Yes.
are the financial aspects of it. Then there is
Hmm.
the aspect of family, etc. And in India, our parents really want us to be more settled, for example, and they want us to have a very stable career.
Hmm.
So that was another aspect which played on my mind.
Hmm.
But these are the two most obvious
Yes.
challenges that
Hmm.
things one has to address before they decide to start up.
So now, when you were having a job and suddenly you decided, I want to quit and I want to go up to my startup and build something new, how did you know that you really wanted to go for a startup? Or was it the pressure was getting to you, or living in another country, you were missing your home, or maybe just a bad week at work? Or it was coming from inside that no, right now I need to go and build something which I had started. I had not been successful then, but I want to start again with something new. How did you actually know that?
Well, I think one finds out about these motivations and these drives and desires simply by thinking about it for a long period of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are, for example, when I was in my previous company, which also, by the way, was a startup, but I was working for somebody else's startup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that on the best of days when I was doing really well, and also
Mm.
on the worst of days when things were not working well, on both days I would deeply want to build something of my own, right?
So
So
this came from
irrespective of,
inside. This
yeah,
came
it
from
comes from inside. It comes from inside, and then there are certain problems that you see again and again as far as what you want to build for is concerned. So I
so
wanted to build for career guidance, and I would see that it would just you would keep seeing those opportunities and those challenges associated with career and people and those circumstances, which kind of validates that no, you should build it.
mm-hmm.
Uh, it's always better to not take a trigger based decision,
Hmm.
but to kind of take a more thoughtful decision. And I think that's important for anybody who wants to start up
So
and
while you're in the job, you can do a market research and then ask yourself this question. It should not be that one fine morning you decide you're leaving and you leave. So it should be a thought out, well thought out, because as you have rightly pointed out, you get a certain amount of money and the lifestyle. And along with that, yes, parents do want you to be successful in life. And
yeah.
if a student like you who has been a very good student throughout his career, whatever you have done well. When you suddenly say, I want to switch, there is an amount of fear in the parents' mind that Whether
Yeah.
because one was already not successful, not because you didn't do, but because of
Yes. Yes.
circumstances, and
Yes.
you never know what will happen in the next 1 year or 2 year. So
Yes.
that was definitely. Tell me one thing, what myth do you believe, like people still believe in switching careers in their 30s?
Well, people believe that career switching which will lead to better careers, which is
Okay.
not necessarily true, right? Just because you believe that you should switch your job does not
Mm-hmm.
mean that you're moving to a better opportunity,
Okay.
right? Especially in India, there is this notion among young professionals,
Mm-hmm.
stage working professionals, that every time I switch my job, I am growing up the ladder, which is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily the case. You might kind of get next percentage raise in your income,
Mm-hmm.
but that does not mean that you're growing as a professional. And that's a very deep problem actually, because even on the hiring side of things, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody is working as a manager, the recruiters will kind of assume that that person is fit to become a senior manager.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not necessarily true. And because of this culture that we have in India, that
Mm-hmm.
the next step is always higher designation and higher income, right?
Mm-hmm.
That leads to multiple problems, which leads to sometimes misfit in hiring, sometimes stagnation in growth, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people quit. So I think that's the biggest myth I have observed as far as career switching is concerned.
Okay. So now you said that it's not necessary that if you change your career, immediately you will get a better, you are growing in your career. So tell me, what are the skills actually needed that you can grow yourself as a person, as in your career? What are those skills? Top three skills, name them.
Do you mean in terms of wanting to switch to another stream of
Yeah.
work, or in general?
Okay, if you want to switch.
Well, I think the first and most important thing for somebody who is even contemplating about switching careers is to have this mindset that no matter where I work and what I do, I will be able to do well. Okay, and this is
Okay.
not a skill. This is mindset,
Mindset.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the most important thing. I know so many people who are extremely skilled, but they
Mm-hmm.
have this apprehension, and they are not mentally prepared to take that plunge simply
Mm-hmm.
because they are not sure if they will do well. It could be imposter
Mm-hmm.
syndrome, it could be limited confidence, it could be something else. So, the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing, which is before skill set, is actually to have that
Mindset.
mindset that you
Mindset.
can do well wherever you
Mm-hmm.
work next. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the second thing is the ability to learn like a child,
Okay.
and that's extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
As we grow older, we tend to start believing that we know quite a bit, and
Mm-hmm.
that actually comes in the way of us learning new things, picking up new skills. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the second most important skill, to learn like a child. And whatever's happening now with the whole AI revolution,
Mm-hmm.
it's bringing us exactly, questioning that skill of ours. So people who are learning like children now, who are learning AI like children, they will
Mm-hmm.
grow
Definitely do
much
better.
faster than the rest of the
So
folks.
be curious and always be open to learning. Learn new
Be open to
things.
learning, learn like a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just how children learn, right? They are curious and all of that.
Yeah.
And the third thing I think is to be very good in communication,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be such a good communicator that you always want to invest more in your communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember a very famous statement by Indra Nooyi, the Pepsi ex-Pepsi
Mm-hmm.
CEO. She says that you can never invest enough in
Mm-hmm.
communication skills, and I think that's so important for people. So if these three things can be taken care of, then I think switching becomes far easier.
Far easier. Yeah, you have rightly said. And communication is not only in the job field, in your personal space also. If you
Yes,
can communicate well, you have a better relationship with everybody. Not only in
yes,
your office, in your personal space also.
it's a life skill.
It's a life skill,
Yes,
definitely. Um, See, now looking at your journey, you were an engineer, then you went into digital, then you built something that you have been doing different things at different point
yes,
of time. Okay. Do you think reskilling yourself can actually increase your earning potential?
absolutely. there is, if there is somebody who is more skilled versus the job, versus the job requirements for that
Mm-hmm.
particular task, then it is only a matter of time before that person increases their income, right? For example, I was able to increase my income by 15 times in the first
Mm-hmm.
10 years of my career, and I started at a very good CTC.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So my income grew 15 times in the first 10 years of my career when I was working as a employee. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that has got to do with being able to constantly upskill, going
Mm-hmm.
from a consultant to a marketer to a engagement manager to a revenue head. Right.
Mm-hmm.
These required a lot of skills, and I even moved from industries. I moved from consulting
Mm-hmm.
to marketing technology. I moved
Mm-hmm.
from India to Asia Pacific. So I have firsthand experienced the value
Mm-hmm.
of upskilling constantly, taking up new challenges, which
Mm-hmm.
leads to rewards monetarily also.
Okay, so now looking at your life journey, it's safe to say that in today's day and age, even if you are doing a graduation and you go for a job and you are not very happy with it, you need not persist with that job for long. You can go for reskilling, you can change your industry, you can change your job profile, and you can do something which you like, which I don't think so was possible maybe a decade ago. Because whatever skills you had to work with that whether you liked or not. Am I correct in assuming that people can change?
Of course, people can change jobs so much more easily now than they could do previously, simply because of the number of industries, companies, opportunities, fluidity
Mm-hmm.
in changing careers is concerned. But this
Mm-hmm.
is what I always tell people who are not happy in their current job. I
Mm-hmm.
tell them that, have you thought enough about what are your limitations and where you are lacking before you start believing that it's not me who is the problem, but it's the company or the team or the manager. So a lot of times, as human beings, we look at external challenges
Hmm.
and we do not question ourselves enough that
Hmm.
could I be the problem.
Problem.
So one
Why
has to
me?
really, yeah, one has to introspect very, very deeply and expect more from ourselves than we expect from others.
Hmm.
And I feel that if that is done, then it leads to a more informed decision.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Difficult.
no matter where
Difficult.
this person goes to and which company they work for, they will continue to be unhappy.
Hmm. Actually, to look back and think where I am lacking, it's a difficult thing to do. But if you
Yes,
can do that, you will
yes,
definitely start, you know your weaknesses.
yes,
So you will automatically start working on them, and the
yes.
result will be always good. Wow. Now tell me, you have changed so much. How did you convince your parents? Though they might be supportive of what you are doing,
Yes,
but
yes.
definitely you had to go and convince them, telling them, informing them what you're doing. And how did you convince? Because most of the children, I think so, even in their 30s, they have this one factor, how to tell the parents that I'm going to switch or I'm going to, start my own startup. So what did
Yeah.
you do? Some tips on that.
Well, I think, to be super honest, it's largely got to do with how accommodating and how liberal my parents are. Right? I
Hmm.
have been very blessed that
Hmm.
they are extremely understanding, extremely thoughtful people who have provided me with a very good upbringing and a very financially secured life.
Hmm.
And it would be very difficult for me to do whatever I'm doing if my background was different. So it has largely got to do with how they are. And as far as I am concerned, of course, they still have hesitations, and we still have arguments about whether one should kind of quit a job and start up.
Hmm.
But then you have to pitch to your parents just like you pitch to investors, and
Hmm.
you have to tell them your motivations of why you want to build something from scratch, why that is important, why
Hmm.
that will be rewarding, and
Hmm.
why you want to do it,
Hmm.
and there should be some sort of an upside to it, which they should believe that is possible.
Hmm.
And if you can do that well, then they are more likely to be okay with it.
Yeah, so basically, parents are worried. You need
Of course.
to talk to them and
Yes.
assure them that, okay, even if I am starting up maybe 6 months, 1 year, I will not be, in a huge profit margin, or I may not get a lot of salary, but I do have my savings. I can manage that way. And
Yes.
yeah, I think so. A little bit, you should tell your parents that you are always there, and because you all are there, I can take a step ahead. That definitely will alleviate any fear that they have. It's not that they don't want you to change, but it is more like they're worried for you. You have
Yes.
having a job, you're getting money, and why do you want to suddenly quit everything and start on a career which may or may not give you that money? But yes, you need to pitch that I'll be satisfied and this is what I want to do. So
Yes.
that way you can convince them instead of being at loggerheads with them. So
Exactly.
tell me one thing. What is the most ridiculous job advice who gave you during your career transactions?
You mean ridiculously good or ridiculously bad?
Ridiculously bad. People who really did not understand what you were doing, how you were doing it, and they came up with some advice, you know?
Because it must have been a ridiculously bad advice, I wouldn't remember it, ma'am.
Okay.
Uh,
Ridiculously good advice.
yeah, so this is a very interesting incident. This is 12 months after I started working in my first job.
Mm-hmm.
So 12 months were over, and we got an appraisal, which is everybody got a certain amount of hike in their
Mm-hmm.
income salary, right? So this was the first time this happened to me. And I was very curious, somewhat competitive. So I started going to my friends and I started asking them, how much hike did you get?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody got 12%, somebody got 15%, somebody got 18%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was comparing with how much I had got.
Mm-hmm.
So my manager saw that, right? It was a flow, and he could very easily see what I was doing. So he called me. He said, Nishant, come here. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just talking to my friends, asking about how much they've
Mm-hmm.
each got. He's like, say, Nishant, if you're doing a job, you'll either get peanuts or salted peanuts. At the end of the day, peanuts. So it does not matter how much everybody else has got.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that so vividly. It's 12 years since that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And after that day, I stopped comparing myself with other people. I
Yeah.
just compare myself with others
Uh,
after that
what
incident.
what happens is we always, till you go into a job scenario, you are always in a college or school where marks matter. And
Yes.
you're always competing. How much did the other person get? How much did I get? This competition is there. That is not the case when you land up on a job. So
Yeah.
it's different. It's different. And a good advice you had got at that moment. Okay.
Yes.
Now tell me, you have left your job and you have started your new thing.
Yeah.
What is that one thing you felt that, if I was in my job, I would not get this, what I'm getting today?
It's the freedom to execute your ideas,
Okay.
right? That's the most important thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
why people whoever wants to become an entrepreneur becomes an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
because there is so much of freedom that comes with doing whatever you feel like doing. Right? It
Mm-hmm.
could be in terms of building a product, making a pitch, hiring somebody, talking to a client, anything, right? And entrepreneurship brings that freedom. It comes with a lot of responsibility as well.
Mm.
But that's the case with any sort of freedom anyway.
It comes with a lot of responsibility. Very well said. Okay, tell me, like, if someone is thinking that I want to make a career switch and they made it, and they felt that this was the wrong thing that I have done, it may happen.
Yes.
How do they recover very fast from that?
It's a very difficult situation to be in,
Mm-hmm.
to pick up a job which you thought would be good for you, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you are in that job and you realize that, oh, this was perhaps not good. It happens all the time, but it's a very
Mm-hmm.
difficult situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one thing is to not make a very quick assumption that you're not happy in your job. Still
Mm-hmm.
give it some time and
Mm-hmm.
be thoroughly already informed about what's happening there. And if
Mm-hmm.
you still believe that this is not the place for me, try to speak to your previous team, your previous company, your previous manager, and see if they would be open to getting you on board again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important in career that you never burn bridges with the people you work with. Right.
True.
So, in case you want to get back to some company, then I think it's very okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a bad decision, we all make bad decisions. So there should be we should take opportunities to kind of undo and roll back to where we were previously.
Okay. So, with all your experience and what you're doing now, give one advice to someone who is watching this podcast who wants to make a change. What is your advice to them?
Well, make an informed decision. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
don't rush into it. If you think that you want to do something and if you strongly feel about it, speak to the people who are already doing it, and speak to both kinds of people who are doing it successfully and who tried it but were unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then also think deeply about what could go right and what could go wrong, and then make that decision. So if I have to summarize this in one sentence, is always make informed decisions.
Decision.
Right.
Yeah,
As far
in
as the
today's day and age, information is freely available, and you have to take that effort to go and talk to people and find out what is exactly that you're looking for. And then you can reskill yourself, apply, go, do the job, see how it goes. And most of the time, I think so, if it comes from the heart, you will definitely be happier in a place where you wanted to be.
I'll give you an
Because,
example, ma'am. 90% of people pick up a job without speaking to anybody who has worked in that company before, without speaking to anybody who has worked in that role before. They've of course they've spoken to the people who've been interviewing them, but they've
Mhm.
not spoken to anybody else, and
Mm.
that's a very big problem, right?
Mm.
So one needs to make more informed decisions, and if you make a more informed decision, you are more likely to make a good decision.
Good decision. Okay. So let us have a little rapid fire type of. You have to answer very quickly these questions. Okay. If someone is afraid of starting over at 30, what would you tell them in 30 seconds?
Be confident. It's okay to switch. It's also okay not to switch. There should be no external pressure of validation or imitation as far as that decision is concerned. It's a purely personal decision. Think through
Hmm.
it and then take a
Mhm.
call.
Do you think people stay in a job because they're loyal or because they are lazy?
It could be both, or it could be simply the fact that they have started liking where they're working or they are complacent about it. So there are multiple angles. I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to restrict it to these two.
Okay. What's harder, leaving a job or explaining to your relatives what you're doing right now?
Yeah, of course, the latter.
Okay. What is the career change red flag no one talks about?
Was the career change red flag that no one talks about? Rushing into a career switch without thinking through.
Thinking through. Correct. Okay. Tell me one thing which I have taught you which you still use. You find that useful even today.
I remember I had said something which was not very polite to you once,
Mm-hmm.
and you just absorbed it. You did not scold me at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and was so polite, and you explained to me why I should not be speaking like that in such a mature manner that it stuck that wow, I said something which was not very polite,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps even offensive, and how nicely ma'am has, you know, given me good feedback without scolding me, which is
Mm-hmm.
uncommon when it comes to school kids and their teachers. Right? So I still remember that incident, and
Mm-hmm.
because of how you handle the situation, I remember it. So I try to do it when I'm at the receiving end of it as well.
Mm. Yeah. Frankly, I don't remember what I had told you, but yeah. That may be something which has helped you. That is something which I am happy that it has helped you in your life. It was lovely talking to you. It is always lovely talking to children whom I have seen in the school going out in life and doing so much. And today, by this talk, hopefully, those who are watching, they get an idea that switching career is not difficult. You need informed decision. You can switch as many times as you want. Reskill yourself first. Check out in the market what is working. You want to have your own little startup, you can definitely go for it. Think about it, work for it, and definitely you'll be a success. All the best to you, Nishan, and hope one day again we sit and talk when your latest startup is touching the sky.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.